Welcome and welcome back, everybody, to the OK Grognard Show. Today is Wednesday, July 17th, 10 a.m. Now it's 11 a.m. Central and beautiful Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. And we're running a little behind today because there's some technical issues. But we're going to talk about a section of the first edition Advanced Dungeons & Dragons Dungeon Master's Guide. That section being the effect of wishes on character ability scores. What's up? I think I got that green screen worked out a little better this week. A little less flubby looking, a little more crisp. We got the DMG up there. Let's dive right in because there is plenty. Hey, Vince himself is in the chat over there. Thanks very much. What are we looking at? The effect of wishes on character ability scores. Gary says, it is quite unusual for players to use, it is quite usual, and I'll tell you why I flubbed that word in just a minute. It is quite usual for players to use wishes or alter reality spells found on scrolls to increase their ability scores in desired areas, whatever the areas might be. It is strongly suggested that you place no restrictions upon such use of wishes. However, at some point it must be made more difficult to go up in ability, or else many characters will eventually be running around with several 18s or even higher. Therefore, when any ability score reaches 16, then it should be ruled a wish will have the effect of increasing the ability by only 1/10 of a point. Thus, by means of wishes and or alter reality spells, a charisma score of 16 can only be raised to 17 by use of 10 such wishes. The score going from 16 to 16.1 with the first wish, 16.2 with the second, and so on. This is not to say that magical books or devices cannot raise scores of 16 or better a full point. The prohibition is only on wishes. Well, how about that? I'll tell you what. There must have been a lot more wishes floating around and available to players in Gary's campaign or in campaigns of the day that I was not aware of. And I've been running since 74 too, and I've never played in a game where a wish... I played in a lot of games and campaigns where you never even saw a wish. And I played in and ran plenty where... you know what? In 50 years of running games since 1974, I think I only had 3 times that I had wishes. And one time it was a kind of collective wish. And it all kind of went sideways, too, for everybody. There was this idea where they got a hold of this sword that was supposed to make all their dreams come true. And I had known from backstories of the players and things that they had talked about, things that they would then want to achieve. And everything went sideways. One of them invented dynamite, and then it fell into the wrong hands. One of them wanted to be a great writer, and then poof, they were a great writer, but they found out they were a writer of bodice-ripping romance novels, not great literature, even though they had great renown and they were widely known and very famous. It wasn't for the type of writing that they would have hoped they'd done. And there were several other things that were just granted and yet bad. So eventually they had to make the decision if they were going to give up this weapon of great power, which it also was in its own right, or accept their sort of twisted fates that were kind of on point, letter of the law, so to speak, but none of them really wanted to remain in a world where they were all ciphers of their most ideal selves. So they eventually returned the sword and set reality back into place. But aside from some things like that, and then there were the occasional, I think once or twice I had something. I remember once there was a ring with one wish left on it. They never figured out what it was. There was another time where I had a dagger that had the ability to bestow one wish, and they discovered what it was, and they got themselves out of a tight jam. They reversed time by like an hour, and it allowed them, with the foreknowledge to be able to keep the foreknowledge of what it was they had gotten into, which had gotten like half the party killed. And with that, they avoided that fate. So, things like that. I don't twist things like that. It's when greed or avarice is involved in the wish that it can get twisted. The less genuine, the less altruistic, all of those things that a wish is used for tends to be the things that make a wish go sideways in my campaigns. And I think most of the DMs that I've, whose games or campaigns I've been a part of, were generally the same way. If something was just a straightforward, boy, our group, we're starving here. We could all use a big meal and water for the next week. Replenish our rations. Sure, done. Back up to a week's worth of rations. That kind of thing. I never try to twist anything like that. So, there you go. In any event, this whole idea of using them for character ability scores and having 10 at your disposal. Now, sure, it's a spell, and characters that are that high a level can cast those spells, but those kind of upper echelons of character levels were rarely ever reached in games or campaigns that I've run, and certainly ones that I've played in. Those kinds of levels would have required a lot more generous of DMs than I've been in my 50 years, or in the DMs whose games or campaigns I've played in. I think a campaign that has that sort of availability of wishes, it just feels like it would go off the rails, in my opinion. And if you play those kind of high level games and such, where you have access to that sort of power, it's beyond the power level of stuff that I play or enjoy, and certainly beyond the power level of stuff that I run. So, more power to you. In any event, that's just an opinion. Gary wrote this. He obviously has his opinion on it, and it's made pretty plain here what sort of power levels he was expecting his game to be at, and other games that people ran. So maybe I've never lived up to the promise of a DM that he would have expected me to be. So be it. I've had fun at it, and I've enjoyed it very much all the way along, so I'm not going to complain. There you go. Just a short one today compared to last week. Do check that one out from last week. It was definitely, I think, an eye-opening thing for people that follow along and understand what I was saying and where I was coming from. I'll leave it at that. Hey, thanks, Vince. Thanks, everybody else who's been checking out the video live here, and thank you to anyone who checks it out in the future. This has been a video on the first edition Advanced Dungeons & Dragons Dungeon Master's Guide section on the effect of wishes on character ability scores, with some related conversation about wishes in general. Don't forget the show streams live on Twitch each Monday. It still says Monday. It's supposed to be Wednesday now. It's at Wednesday at 10 a.m. Central, and today was an hour late because of some technical issues. I apologize for that. And thanks to our Patreon supporters: Tom Tullis of Fat Dragon Games, Carlos Lysing of Castle Entertainment, Heath Farndon of the AD&D D20, Dave O'Brien, Shane Bradley, as always, DM extraordinaire. This has been the OK Grognard Show from beautiful Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Thank you and bye-bye.